You see the hero die, pierced by metal rods, and the ninja world ends right there. The pain should have broken the girl, but the tragedy birthed a ruthless demon. She smiles as the blood drips down. Rewind the tape to understand this. Pain obliterated the village's hope. Despair took over the battlefield. So the Hyuuga princess made the bloodiest decision of all. You thought Hinata was a fragile girl because she hid her true nature. But when Naruto's body hit the ground, her chains of sanity shattered. She crawled to him and didn't shed a single tear. She ripped the seal straight from the corpse and dug her nails angrily into her own stomach. She used a forbidden kinjutsu from the main branch that erased her own limits. She absorbed the Nine Tails chakra, and the raw power melted her emotions. The beast tried to devour the girl's mind, but the darkness in Hinata's heart was infinitely bigger. So the Kyuubi backed down and submitted to the hate of a hopeless woman. Pain watched the macabre scene and felt no fear because his divine arrogance blinded him. But the dust settled and the heiress's silhouette emerged with a terrifying aura. She raised her head and her eyes weren't pure or white. The Byakugan was stained a scarlet red and radiated a brutal killer intent. She abandoned her clan's traditions and fused the fox's cloak with her perfect strikes. She charged at Pain's paths, and every punch generated an explosion of pure vacuum. The first body was ripped in half before hitting the ground, and you could barely blink. The leader tried to repel the attack, but the divine push was crushed by the dark chakra. She walked on air and grabbed the main Pain's throat like a mere insect. He tried to give a speech about Pain, and she just ripped his head off his mechanical body. The carnage didn't stop there, because her corrupted Byakugan saw through dimensions. She followed the flow of black chakra and discovered Nagato's exact location. You expected a long dialogue and the famous speech about forgiveness to save the world. But this new Jinchuuriki didn't want peace because she craved pure annihilation. She tore through the paper tree in seconds and crushed Nagato's body mercilessly. Conan tried to fight back and got shredded by the fury of a goddess without compassion. The Konoha survivors ran to the crater and found a disturbing scene. Sakura screamed her old friend's name, and the answer was a heavy silence. Hinata looked over her shoulder, and her face glowed with an abyssal energy. She turned her back on the village ruins and decided that everyone was going to burn. The bloodthirsty hunt truly began, and no ninja village would be able to sleep in peace. She realized the entire Akatsuki needed to disappear, and that Obito would be the next target. You'll feel the fake Madara's shock when he realizes his war is childish compared to this new threat. Catch your breath, because the global massacre is about to start right now. The sky grew dark as she walked away from Konoha, and her red chakra trail burned the grass. You can feel the weight of the air around this new Hinata, because she isn't human anymore. She became the manifestation of chaos, and her goal is to hunt down every single Akatsuki member. The first target crossed her path by pure bad luck, and the carnage took on epic proportions. Hisame smiled when he saw the girl and pulled out Samahata to slice his prey. But the shark sword screamed in terror when it tasted that dark chakra and refused to fight. Hinata just reached out her hand, and a vacuum vortex pulled the swordsman close. The gentle fist strike pierced right through the mist monster's chest, and he dropped dead without understanding a thing. The creature of darkness sucked the sword's life energy and continued her march of death. She crossed entire continents in a matter of hours because her speed broke the laws of physics. Her final destination was Obito's hidden fortress, and the hideout's defenses were destroyed like paper. You realize that ninja stealth doesn't exist anymore because her fury announced the Yendi. The fake Madara was in his lab and felt a cold chill rip down his spine. He tried to use Kyuubi to escape to his safe dimension, but the fabric of space tore apart. The Scarlet Jinchuuriki's spiritual pressure was so dense, it canceled the laws of space-time ninjutsu. The stone walls exploded into dust, and she appeared floating with a freaky smile. Obito threw a firestorm at her to create a window to escape. But Hinata just blinked her corrupted Byakugan, and the black flames were swallowed by pure white eyes. She lunged forward in a jump, and her speed broke the sound barrier and launched the Uchiha way. He tried to phase through it, but her punch brutally hit his very soul. The villain coughed up blood and realized Kyuubi was useless against attacks soaked in pure dimensional hate. He tried to trap the girl in an absolute Jinjutsu using his Sharingan, but her mind was a hellish maze. The demonic fox and the princess tore the illusion apart from the inside out and left Obito panicking. You understand now that the hunter has become the defenseless prey. The dark girl walked slowly, and every step cracked the solid stone floor. She condensed chakra into her fingertips and prepared the final blow to erase the masked man. Obito had no living allies, and the Eye of the Moon plan was crumbling right in front of him. So he made the most desperate and unholy decision to try and survive this monster. He summoned the power of the Ghetto statue and plugged the chakra receivers into his own body like a human shield. The demonic statue roared, but Hinata just laughed and chopped off one of the creature's arms with a single clean strike. The force of the hit destabilized the whole cave, and debris started falling on their heads. The Uchiha realized brute strength wouldn't be enough, and that he needed a dark miracle. The masked man formed bloody hand signs at an insane speed, and the ground at his feet began to glow. He used Kabuto's last resort that was hidden right there in the shadows of the hideout. The Edo Tensei technique demanded sacrifices, and Obito used the statue's own energy to activate the forbidden jutsu. Wooden coffins sprouted from the wrecked floor, and the room went completely freezing cold. The main coffin's lid fell heavily, and a terrifying energy flooded the air. You're going to lose your breath when you see the legendary figure who opened his eyes in the dark to protect Obito. The real ghost of the Uchiha woke up earlier than planned, and Hinata's Byakugan locked onto him. The greatest battle in ninja history has been declared, and global destruction is inevitable now. Madara Uchiha stepped out of the wooden coffin and looked at the destruction around him with disgust. He felt the girl's absurd chakra, and an arrogant smirk appeared on the ghost's pale face. But Hinata didn't want to chat and charged at the living legend with brutal fury. She focused her scarlet power into the palms of her hands and struck the Uchiha right in the chest. The blow cut through the wind with a deafening sound because the force was monstrous. Madara crossed his arms to block, but the impact snapped his immortal bones like twigs. He flew into the stone wall and realized he needed to fight seriously from the very first second. Then his eyes glowed red, and a giant blue exoskeleton erupted from the ground. The perfect Susanoo covered the battlefield, and the surrounding mountains shook with fear. The colossal armor wielded two monstrous swords, and Obito hid in the shadows to survive. You think the goddess of darkness backed down from that divine magnitude, but she just concentrated a dense layer of negative chakra around her own fists and smiled. The Jinchuuriki combined the lethality of the gentle fist with the raw hate of the corrupted Kyuubi. She leaped toward the blue giant and dodged the first sword slash with terrifying agility. The Uchiha's colossal blade split the earth in two but didn't even touch the girl. She landed right on the Susanoo's forehead and prepared a devastating attack. She unleashed a sequence of 100 divine strikes, and every impact was an explosion of black energy. Madara's impenetrable armor started cracking, and shock took over the immortal villain's face. The last punch broke through the absolute defense and disintegrated the Susanoo into thousands of glowing pieces. The ghost of the Uchiha fell from the sky, and the girl tracked him with her scarlet eyes. Madara activated his supreme Rinnegan while falling and called upon the power of the Six Paths. He tried to crush the girl with an absurd gravitational pull to impale her body. But Hinata's chakra control was absolute, and she repelled the magnetic force with a shockwave. The ninja legend's ocular power failed miserably against the fury of a broken woman. The villain laughed at that absurd situation and clapped his hands together to summon the flames of hell. The sky darkened unnaturally as two colossal meteors tore through the clouds straight for the battlefield. Obito panicked and activated Kyuubi to escape that apocalyptic impact. But Hinata didn't move a single muscle to run from the death falling from the sky. She channeled the entire reserve of her demonic cloak and unleashed a spinning blast of air upwards. The 8 trigrams vacuum palm collided with the first meteor and turned the giant rock to dust. The continuous shockwave hit the second meteor and wiped the threat from the skies in the blink of an eye. Night turned to day with the light of the explosion, and Madara lost his breath for the first time. The Jinchuuriki landed in front of Madara and pierced his paper chest with surgical precision. She used dark chakra claws to rip out the control tags, anchoring the Uchiha's soul. His immortal body started turning into ashes because her unholy energy was devouring the reanimation itself. The legendary ghost faded into the wind, and the macabre silence ruled once again. The fake Madara realized his defeat was total and try to crawl away from that hell. He activated his dimensional portal one more time, and his body started getting sucked into the void. But Hinata stomped hard on the ground and paralyzed space and time around the coward. She raised her bloody hand and pulled the beating heart right out of Obito's chest. The masked man dropped dead in the dust, and the infinite Tsukuyomi plan sank right along with him. The revenge was complete because there was no one left alive from the Akatsuki in that broken world. The red-eyed girl looked at the fallen demonic statue and walked over to the empty husk of the Ten Tails. She placed both hands on the ancient wood and started absorbing the Earth's primal energy. The entire planet's colossal chakra began converging into the Hyuuga heiress's small and fragile body. She didn't want to rule an empty world, and revenge was just the first phase of a bigger plan. The cursed mark on her stomach shined intensely, and a sealing circle expanded for miles around. You'll find out in the next chapter the real reason why she sacrificed her own humanity. The girl absorbed all the statue's colossal energy, and her body started cracking from so much power. The Nine-Tails Fox felt the flow shift inside the seal and finally understood the young girl's plan. Vengeance and destruction were just the bloody path to reach a true divine power. She needed an immeasurable cosmic force because the laws of death demanded an absurd price. Hinata floated above the ruins of the ninja world and started her journey back to Konoha. The stormy sky began to clear, and a scarlet trail of light cut through the dense clouds. She crossed the miles in the blink of an eye and landed softly in the village's main crater. Naruto's cold body was still there on the ground, and his blood had completely dried up. The surviving ninjas saw the Jinchuuriki return and tried to set up a useless defense line. Sakura ran forward, crying to stop her approach, but the crushing air pressure paralyzed everyone. The Hyuuga heiress didn't look at her old friends because her mind was focused on a single goal. She kneeled next to the fallen hero and touched his pale face with terrifying tenderness. The goddess of darkness plunged both hands into Naruto's chest, and the true Kenjutsu was activated. The cursed seal on her stomach glowed intensely, and the chakra chains began to loosen. She pulled out the fox's soul, fused with the Ten Tails' vitality, and channeled it all into the corpse. The dark power started burning the girl's veins, and the physical pain was absolutely indescribable. You think evil would win in the end, but her unconditional love purified that demonic energy. The thick black chakra turned into a warm golden aura as it entered the hero's body. Naruto's destroyed organs started to regenerate, and the fatal wound on his chest closed instantly. The Kyuubi was sealed back into its original host, and peace began to return to the world. Equivalent exchange demanded a life, and the princess agreed to pay that price without hesitating a second. Her red eyes went back to being purely white, and the hate gave way to a deep peace. Her bluish hair lost its shine, and her fingertips started turning into white ash. The Byakugan faded away forever because her life force was fully transferred to the Uzumaki. Naruto's heart gave its first beat, and the sound echoed through the silence of the destroyed crater. The warmth of life returned to the hero's face, and he gasped for air with desperate strength. He slowly opened his blue eyes and found Hinata's pale face turning into glowing dust. She gave a sweet smile and whispered his name one last time before fading into the wind. The boy stood up stumbling and tried to catch her ashes, but his hand only grabbed the void. Sakura fell to her knees crying, and Kakashi bowed his head to honor the supreme sacrifice. The ninja world was saved from the Akatsuki, and peace was secured by the woman who embraced the darkness. Naruto screamed at the clear sky, and the weight of that loss changed his destiny forever. He realized her love was the most lethal and kindest weapon that ever existed on Earth. The fox's golden cloak wrapped around his body, and Hinata's presence felt alive inside that chakra. Naruto swore to build a world without war so nobody would ever have to turn into a monster to save who they love. The legend of the corrupted girl became a forbidden myth, and Konoha was reborn from the ashes of that painful sacrifice. You lose your breath imagining the hero carrying this guilt, and the story ends with him looking at the moon. The white glow in the night sky reminds him of her smile and leaves that dark void in your mind. If you enjoyed this insane script, drop your like and subscribe right now so you don't miss a thing. There's another crazy video waiting for you on the channel, so click there and I'll see you next time.